This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Annette Cargioli, and I am the founder and developer of a completely different approach in emotional health care that is based on resolving the old conflicts in your life using the power of forgiveness. So the name of this technique is EPT, or emotional polarity technique. And while it is normally built or structured to do one-on-one with people in the room with you, we know that we can do or give benefit even when we do remotely, like we're doing here on this Facebook page and on YouTube. We can do it remotely and still get some incredibly extraordinary benefits. Doing EPT remotely versus showing up with a person is about 80% the same. So there's about 20% of what happens in a remote set or in an in-person session that doesn't happen in a remote session. And as I go along, I might tell you what those things are. But I just like saying that, telling you that remote and in-person are about 80% the same, but they are not exactly the same. So for those of you who are familiar with it, you'll see some of the differences as we go along. The other thing I want to say is that as I'm doing this work, I like to use a sound therapy machine called a Qigong therapy machine. And basically that's to ground me and to serve my body, because I feel like doing remote work and doing things online and this type of modality is one of those things that hasn't really been research to know how much does that actually drain off of me to do that. And those of you who are energy workers know what I'm talking about. So I recommend whenever you do any kind of remote healing work or energy work that you always use something to support you at the same time. So I have that on me as well. Today I'm going to be working with Chelsea, and we're going to be doing an EPT session. Chelsea, have you ever had an EPT session?
I have not.
And so, do you have any idea of what you'd like to work on? What you'd like to feel better in your life about?
Um, just the everyday, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
So when you say just the everyday, so does it mean that every day it's a little, I'm not as happy, or I'm nervous, or I'm just too stressed out? Like, what does that mean?
I guess, yeah, a little bit of everything, especially with just the pandemic right now. It's just a lot, not being able to go out and do stuff.
So you notice the weight of stress is just different.
Yes.
And it may be stress that's always been there for you, but it just amped up when they changed the environment.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to know because I also had a second child in April, so that is a whole other atmosphere
Ah,
of stress as well.
so how
So
old is your oldest child?
I have a 2-year-old and a 4-month, 7-month-old now, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's kind of high maintenance.
Yeah.
Let's see, about 2 years old and 7 month old. All right. Wow. Okay. But do you also have a job outside the home?
I do. Go into an office 2 days a week and I work from home 3 days a week.
Wow. So did you get excuse me, did you get a care person to come in while you were doing your work at home, or did you try to do it all together?
There's been a few instances where we've been on quarantine where we've had to do it all from home, but I luckily I have a pretty understanding boss, and um, he has two little
Oh,
kids around the same age, so he understands that if there's no one caring for them, you kind of have to. So, um,
right.
but
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 they are in.
still, it's hard.
Oh yeah, it's so hard.
I mean, it's like it's a lot of challenge just to take care of two children who need care, but then throw in, I also have to meet my obligations at my work, for the work stuff. That's a lot of weight. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah, it's been hard. But I mean, my kids typically they go to daycare most of the time. It's just there's been a few instances
Oh,
where we've all been on quarantine for 2 weeks. So
So
which
they
makes
let them, so they were allowed to go to daycare during the time of COVID.
yeah. Right now they are in daycare. Yep.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like we're locked down, but oh yeah, take those kids, throw them in a petri dish with each other. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But I've heard that. I mean, there's a daycare near my house, and when I was walking during the summer outside, I noticed that there were lots of little children playing outside, no mask. And then I started asking people who had little kids, and they said, "Oh yeah, like there are daycares that are open. That's where little kids are allowed to go because parents have to work, but
Right.
children can't go to school." And I was like, "Wow, these rules, none of them really make sense. They just are weird."
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So you're still not, so you're still working from home, right?
Yeah. 3 days a week I am.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Is that going to stay that way? Is that a major change or is it going to go back to the other way?
I'm not really sure. As of right now, it's staying this way until things get better, until a vaccine is distributed to the general population, which will still be a handful of months. So,
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. So I'm going to start by we're going to do what I call, normally we use magnets, but I'm sure you don't have a set of magnets. So it's all right in a remote session if you're going to do one or two sessions that you don't have magnets, but I always recommend to my students, if you're going to do multiple remote sessions, you want to get some magnets with the person so they can use the magnets on themselves while you're doing the session.
okay.
So this is what they look like, but we're going to start and I'm using my little magnet covers just so people who are learning this technique see that what I'm doing. And what I would do is if I were with you in person, I would put these on you and I would hold them. But when I'm doing remote, I'm going to have you basically, I would have you use the blue side of the magnet on either side of your head. But what I want you to do is take your hands and you're just going to push. So you're going to squeeze your head together while you take a deep breath in. So breathe in and breathe out. And then squeeze and breathe in. And let go and breathe out. And then do it again. Breathe in and breathe out. And then I'm going to have you put a hand on the front of your head and then on a thumb or on the back of your head. Like I'll take my little fake magnet down like this. And this time you're going to lift up and breathe in, lift up and breathe out. And lift up and breathe in, yeah, breathe out. And then do it a third time, lift up and let go and breathe out. Okay, yes, in person I would be doing that for you and just telling you how to breathe. So anyway, so that's called the rapport procedure, which basically helps to connect you more to your body and more to your thoughts and your mind with your body, and also your ability to connect to your outside world in a meaningful way. So we start with that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is on a scale of one, or I'm sorry, we're going to do what stage of healing you're in. So there's 7 stages of healing and you're in stage 2. So that just tells me that you are definitely going to notice that this helps you.
Okay.
So the first stage of healing is denial, where it says, oh, everybody's in lockdown and everybody goes through this kind of stress when they're a mom, and it's going to get better. And the second stage of healing is anger, which is, I'm really wanting to scream. I'm really angry. I'm frustrated. It's nobody's fault, maybe, or maybe I do feel like it's other people's fault, but I don't have any control over it. So I'm just a ball of anger. The next stage of healing is bargain. Bargain is where a person says, well, I'll do anything to feel better about this place I'm in that just feels frustrating and angry, and I can't seem to change. So I will even do an online session with somebody I don't know if it helps. So bargain, and then after bargain is, or the other thing you can do in bargain is, I'll try different things. Like I'll bring a babysitter to my house, or I will put the kids in bed earlier, or I'm trying to find something to change to make everything better. But at the end of that, I'm still a mess. And then the next stage is depression, which is really not necessarily I'm depressed. It's just I'm defeated. I feel like I'm at the wall in my life and anything I can change. And I am not happy and I don't know how to make it better. I just, every day is just plodding forward. So that's really what depression is. And I say that, I go through those stages because it's possible that you've been going from anger to bargain to depression. And then to get out of that sense of just non-movement and numbness, you go into the stage of anger or frustration. And then you go back to bargain, and then you try things, and then you're back to, you know what, I really don't feel better. This still is really hard. And I've got a new baby and I've got a little baby and I should feel better and I don't. I'm like, life ought to be happier than this. It ought to be more meaningful, that kind of thing. That's where depression is. It's those places where you kind of hit the come to Jesus moment and you don't find it there. And it's like, where's the moment that's going to give me the breakthrough and make life more meaningful? And then instead you just go back to either denial, well, this is just the way it is and I just need to put up with it and shut up and eventually it'll change. Instead of going inward and actually finding what is it inside of me that's keeping me in this place, because it's not always the environment. So after stage 4, which is depression, that's the place where people really get stuck. And I'm guessing that you've been stuck there where you know depression, but you're right now more in anger and moving to bargain. So I'll take to make anger better, I go to bargain, and then I hit depression again, and I'm, you know, whatever I did didn't work. And so here I am again at the wall, not going over the wall, but just standing at it like that. So, and it's gotten more complicated with another baby. So after depression is acceptance. Acceptance is where, yeah, life is hard. Yeah, it's, you know, I'm juggling things, but I'm laughing more. I'm feeling more hopeful. I know that relief is gonna happen. I'm not like questioning that. I like myself and my life a whole lot better. So acceptance is more that place where I start to feel a lightening of the weight that I've been carrying. And then after acceptance is light emerging. And light emerging is literally where I'm like not having to make things happen that are good in my life. There is unknown good that is showing up in my life. And when it shows up, because, you know, it's showing up in your life right now, but you're so down in your frequency, you can't even celebrate it, like the new baby. So
Right.
once when you get to light emerging, you start to have even more of the awareness of the unknown good. And I mean, the good that just, wow, where it comes out of nowhere in our life, just like things that are hard come out of nowhere, things that are good also come out of nowhere. And our ability to not get stuck on the unknown bad and to actually expand our awareness of the unknown good that happens in our life, that's happening all the time, is what really moves us forward. So that's light emerging. After light emerging is creation of new life, where whatever I was holding back there in anger and depression is just not an issue for me anymore. So now I get to walk a whole new walk and learn a whole new way of being. And I will say that creation of new life is like having a brand new baby, where you're very excited, but it's not that there's no work to do. It's just that I'm really excited, even though I never imagined that an infant could make this much more laundry than an adult. So much more work in my life. I don't care, because I'm so excited about this life's potential that I'm helping to bring forward. So, so that's the creation of new life. What I want to do is today, we're going to move you from anger and we're going to get you hopefully to acceptance or light emerging. And you will notice a lightening. I don't have any doubt. So I'm going to start by saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how, how weighted down are you in this place of anger, bargain, depression, anger, bargain, depression? And so it means, how bad do I really feel? How hard is it emotion, like that I'm carrying inside of me? Wow, it's a 10. Yeah, so you do want to feel better every day. It's 10. So that's my subjective units of distress are 10. And that's just your daily feeling of this weight of, doing the same thing every day, the same way is hard. When I'd like to enjoy stuff a little more. All right, so, and subjective units of elation, that's a 0. So that would be if I'm actually addicted to this state of mind, that would be a high number. In other words, when I'm feeling down, I actually have some kind of a benefit or a feeling that that's the way it has to be so I can have the good. But you don't have that. You have a 0 elation, which means that you really are hanging on by your fingernails to get up and smile and get those babies changed and taken care of and napped and in bed. It's just, So, all right. So how many issues to move you from anger further up that scale? 2 issues. So the first issue is, and I'm muscle testing. If I was with you, I would hold your arm out in this way and I would push on your arm. So that I would actually muscle test your muscle, but remotely I have to do it myself. So I pretend this is your little arm here and I muscle test. So I got 2 sessions or 2 issues, and it's the first one, family, current, self, child, no, self. All right, grief, my grief. So this is your grief with self. And if you had to say what makes you, I'll give you an example, and then in case you don't understand, I'm looking for the finish of that statement. I feel grief about myself because it might be because this isn't the way I wanted to mother, or this is a lot harder than I thought, or I feel grief because I can't do everything as good as I want to do it. So those are some examples. So what do you feel grief about with yourself?
I feel like all of those are true.
No. I should have written them down. Okay, so my grief at myself because this is not the way I wanted to do mothering. Does that one work?
How about it's just a lot harder than I thought it was going to be with a
Okay,
second child.
a lot harder. Yeah. Then, yeah, I thought. You're not a single mom, are you?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So, but yeah, you're the one who has to manage these little kids. So you're doing a job and managing them. So it's still and you probably do a lot at the house.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. And the thing is, you carry the weight of that responsibility as the woman in the family. And also because you probably have a husband who will let you do that because he doesn't know he's not a woman.
Right. And
That he's not going to, go ahead.
oh, he helps me a lot, but you still have to direct him a lot on what I need help with.
Right, right. So you're still the supervising manager of the home.
Right.
And that's a weight because then you have to do your job, the supervisor managing, even though I've got a great crew, the ones that can help.
Right.
The ones that don't have to be carried everywhere. It's still, it feels like it's as though you're on your own because
Yes.
he doesn't have, I'm going to tell you that one of the things you could do, this is coming from a mom of 5 kids who I had 5 under the age of 10.
Oh, rough.
Yeah, but I had, I think when I did have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a baby. So yeah, and that would be Paige would be the 6-year-old that was on here. And so poor Paige, she got she had to grow up really fast because she had to be one of the helpers. But it took me 5 kids before I realized I don't like supervising my husband.
Right.
I don't like, and I also don't like having to be the one who does everything and initiates everything that happens in the house, even though he would do anything
Right.
I asked. But being the supervisor is also a weight. So I actually, at that point in time, I thought about what would I like to give up the most, and it was the laundry. So that's what I just sat down with him and I said, you know what? I can't ask you to help along the way. I need you to be the supervisor on something.
Okay.
And
Good.
to this day, he does the laundry, and our kids are gone, and I'll come in the laundry room and he's done my laundry. So it's almost like if you give them the charge of it, or if there's something that you really don't like doing and you could hand over to him completely, you just say, what I need for you is for you to do it, and that I never ask you to do it, that you just own it as your job.
It's a good idea.
So I'm telling you, it took me 5 kids to figure that out. And he still jokes about it because I said to him, I literally, the way I put it, I said, all right, I do the meals and the food and make sure the kitchen is cleaned up. And I said, and then there's laundry. These are the things that happen daily that are overwhelming. And I said, so pick one. You want to do the kitchen or you want to do the laundry? Well, I knew he'd pick the laundry.
Right.
But because he's like, I don't know how to do the kitchen stuff, right? And I just couldn't. I just couldn't take the laundry. Drove me crazy. So I was thrilled that he said, I'll take the laundry. And then the joke is, then I looked at all the kids and I said, you're washing the dishes Monday, you're Tuesday, you're Wednesday. Like I got really. Then I was delegating like crazy. So he was laughing because he said nobody did the laundry but me, but she had all those little helpers.
That's funny.
Hey, that's not my fault. You got to figure out that supervisor position for yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, if you have a husband who will do what you ask, you need to bundle a job that you can completely give up. Even if
Okay.
it's something like cleaning the bathrooms.
Yeah.
I hate cleaning the bathrooms. Like if you think about the jobs in your home that you despise the most, those are the ones you put him in charge of.
Yes.
And
Good.
and then you make some agreement where you say, if this is like not getting done, what word or what code word can I say to let you know I really need you to clean that bathroom so I don't have to say a whole sentence? Like even if it is, the word bubbles, bubbles, whatever and then that's the code word that means you haven't done your job, but I'm not going to tell you. I'm just telling you, you told me you would, and now you haven't. And I don't want to have that conversation. So I'm telling you, this code word means that conversation is taking place and that I need you to do that. That way you don't have to supervise him. Otherwise you could end up, because he'd never taken a job like that and done it, it may take him a little while to get it right and regular.
Right. It's that's good advice for sure.
Yeah. So but he like wants to help. So you're golden there.
Yeah.
It's just we're going to work on your ability to really give over some of that responsibility, since you're taking some of the financial responsibility for him.
Right.
And he doesn't have to tell you that. You just do it.
Yeah.
So there's like lots of responsibilities in your wonderful little family, and some of it's financial, and you're taking some of that without anybody telling you, oh, by the way, I need you to go get a job.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
and here's some of the ways we need to spend the money. You know, you're taking some of that responsibility as well, which is also why all of the house stuff just feels so overwhelming.
Yeah, it
But
does.
there is, yeah, the reality is, and I trust you when you say it, I believe your husband really wants to help.
Yeah,
He's
he
just,
does.
he's doing it on the terms you as the supervisor have set up, and that is when I tell you to do it, he does it.
Yeah.
So then you're like, you got 3 people you have to tell what to do,
Yeah,
which is insane. It's a lot of work.
it
All
is.
right, so this is my grief because this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. And is there an original time? Yeah, conception to birth. 5, 6, age 6. So at age 6, is it mom's grief, your grief? My grief at age 6 because it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. So what was going on when you were 6?
When I was 6, I have no idea.
Were you
Um,
you were living with your mom and dad?
yes.
And did your mom stay at home or work?
She stayed at home until we went to school, and then
So
she got
wait,
a job.
were you the youngest?
I am the youngest, yes.
So when you started school, she went to work.
Yes.
So everybody else got her longer.
I guess, yep.
Yeah. So other people turned 6 and she was still home, but not
Yep.
you. So you were 6. So it was like, and now I'm thinking it was hard for you to not have her there all the time when you needed her, is what I'm thinking.
That's true, yeah.
And then you had to probably get an older sibling to help you,
Probably. I mean,
or did they go, get out of here, ask mom?
I'm just trying to think.
Isn't
I don't
that
really
weird
know.
that you don't remember? Which
No.
means it was really hard and and you were the youngest. So other people, they were able to go farther away from home on their own. They could go and cook stuff and they could do things you couldn't do.
Yes.
And so even though you were still dependent on mom, she was now the one working and trying to get by.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did she come home when you came home from school or after?
She worked night shift, so she would sleep all
Oh, so
day.
she's sleeping.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I actually grew up for a period of my life. My mom was on the night shift and we all had to be quiet. It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so awful. And we'd be like having to try to figure out what we're allowed to do and not without waking her up.
Yeah.
Ugh. All right. So she was on the night shift. So she was sleeping.
Yes.
So was she home? Was she awake by the time you got home from school? Do you remember?
Sometimes I'd have to walk home from school.
By yourself?
Well, not at 6, but like later on I would walk home from school. But
So
I don't remember being like what happened at 6. I remember being a little bit older and
So you don't
um
remember, did you share a room with a sibling?
I did not.
So you had your own room,
I did.
but you don't remember how you came home from school, if she picked you up or
I'm sure she picked me up.
because she would have been up by that time
Yes.
after she got home from the night shift.
Yeah.
Okay. So my grief, because this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. So I'm going to ask, is it, yeah, and it's a trauma. I mean, did you have any physical traumas at age 6 that you can remember?
Physical traumas? No. I mean, I don't remember in like much at age 6. My mom was like not, she wasn't present very much, but it was because she would do prescription drugs and stuff, but not because of work.
Right. Well, but she probably did prescription drugs also because it allowed her to be more present and be able to manage a night shift job. But
Probably.
it wasn't making her present for anybody.
Right.
Is she a nurse?
No, she was working at Emory. She was doing just like mail stuff and postage, shipping and things.
So before age 6, well, let me ask this. Were you aware that she was not present when you were
Mm,
6?
I don't know.
You did, you don't know. How about, do you have memories like before age 6 where you really enjoyed being with your mom?
I don't know. I don't think so. Not before age
No,
6.
not that you can remember.
No.
So how many kids are in the family?
2.
So who
Me and my
was
sister.
it a brother?
A
Okay, and
sister.
how old was she?
She is 3.5 years older than I am. So she would have been
Oh,
9.
yeah, so she would have been a lot older.
Yeah.
So did you depend on her?
Mm, I don't think so. Maybe I did. I don't know.
You don't remember at age 6.
No.
So really by age 6, I'm guessing because mom went to work, so now she's even more kind of checked out, um, kind of a zombie, uh, and she's not available for you, but you also are, um, you're kind of on your own because you're starting school. So it's like your first, well, you were probably in school in kindergarten, right?
Yeah. But I started kindergarten when I was 6. So,
So this was when you started school.
yeah.
All right. So it was a lot harder than I thought it would be. And yeah, sheesh. It's like you went on your own at age 6. That's what happened. Because everybody's got a life and you have to now work because you're going to school.
Yeah.
But were you all day kindergarten?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So, and did you like going to school?
I did.
So that got you, like, you got to be away from where there wasn't anybody really showing up for you.
Yeah.
Because in your home, there wasn't really anybody showing up for you. Like mom was having trouble showing up because she had prescription drugs, right?
Right.
And because she worked the night shift, that made her a little funky too. Um, and your dad was working, and he was a dad who wasn't really, was he doing everything at the house or just being like, I make the money and come home?
Make the money and come home.
Yeah, yeah. I was guessing that only because um, you have a husband who would do anything for you, but he doesn't know what to because you're just kind of doing it. Like as though he's like your dad, he wouldn't know how or
Yeah.
wouldn't want to, or it wouldn't be his role,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's what you saw growing up. Even though I don't feel like your husband is anything like your dad.
He's not.
Um, no. So this is harder. Yeah. So my grief was self, and yeah, the I'm not good enough is there too. I'm not like you're comparing yourself with everybody else in the family who's bigger and been around longer. And yeah, so this is any other emotions? No. So here's what I'm gonna do. I need you to put a hand. Let's see, grief. Yeah. So, and it's red for those of you and blue. All right. So I need you to put a hand on your lung, your right, which is like your right shoulder, and then another hand over your forehead like this. And if we were together, I would help you by doing this for you, on you. And then as I want you to just think about that age 6, where this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I'm going to school now, and now I'm at home, and there's still nobody here at home that really is tending to me. And it's hard to be a 6-year-old and have to do all the schools thing and then come home to a family that nobody's really showing up for me. I'm just kind of on my own. All right, so I need you to, you're going to take a breath in and squeeze your head together with your hand. So breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. Okay, And then you can take your hands down. Emotions, forgiveness. Heart. Oh my, it's like broken heart. Okay, so I need you to, yeah. So you could have had phase 1, phase 2 trauma, but it's like, it's more, my heart is broken. I'm feeling very, very alone. And the other thing I thought was that I might just disassociate to manage being at home with a bunch of people, because it's weird. It's sometimes people will say it's lonelier to be around people who aren't there for you than to just be by yourself. So I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing. And oh, I want you to rub these points right under your collarbone. And you can
Okay.
rub them or you can just hold your hand there. So
Okay.
it's right under your collarbone. There's a couple of holes there. And you
Yeah.
just hold those or rub them. And sometimes they're kind of tender, but I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I can't love and accept myself
that I can't love and accept myself
without feeling the weight of grief
without feeling the weight of grief
at age 6.
at age 6
Because I felt so alone with a lot of work.
because I felt alone with a lot of work,
And it was a lot harder
and then it was a lot harder
to do things myself
to do things myself
than I ever thought it would be.
than I ever thought it would be.
And then breathe. I forgive my mom.
I
Or
forgive my
sorry, no.
mom
Yeah, I'm gonna forgive my mom and dad
and dad
and sister
and sister
for not knowing how to help me
for not knowing how to help me
and for not even noticing that I needed more support.
and for not noticing that I needed support.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I have to do everything myself.
that I have to do everything myself.
And when I'm doing everything myself,
And when I'm doing everything myself,
I have to feel like a 6-year-old
I have to feel like a 6-year-old
who doesn't have the skills or the resources
who doesn't have the skills or the resources
or the people in my life
or the people in my life
who can help me.
who can help me.
And then breathe. I forgive my 6-year-old self
I forgive my 6-year-old self
for internalizing the grief
for internalizing the grief
and blaming myself
and blaming myself
for everything that was too hard for me to do
for everything that was too hard for me to do
when I was only 6.
when I was only 6.
And then breathe. I, I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I can't be in a family,
that I can't be in a
be
family
or have a family now
or have a family now
that I love
that I love
without feeling like a 6-year-old
without feeling like a 6-year-old
who's on my own
who's on my own
and overwhelmed by all the things I can't do.
and overwhelmed with all the things I can't do.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that when the COVID rules started coming down
When the COVID rules started coming down
and controlling my life,
and controlling my life,
I had to feel just like that 6-year-old
I had to feel just like that 6-year-old.
that, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
I don't know how I'm going to get through this,
And I don't know what I'm doing.
and I don't know what I'm doing.
And there's nobody here that can help me.
And there's nobody here that can help me.
And if I ask for help, it'll just get worse.
And if I ask for help, it'll just get worse.
Because that's how it was when I was 6.
Because that's how it was when I was 6.
It was a lot harder
It was a lot harder
to be a big person in the family.
to be a big person in the family
When I was only 6.
when I was only 6.
And then breathe. Yeah, I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I can't support uh, and teach or manage my children
that I can't support or teach or manage my children
in a loving way
in a loving way
without feeling
without feeling
it's not going to be enough.
it's not going to be enough.
And I'm going to make them feel the way my mom made me feel.
And I'm going to make them feel the way my mom made me feel.
And then breathe. I forgive that's still moving. I forgive myself for letting the grief
I forgive myself for letting the grief
that I couldn't express to anybody at age 6
that I couldn't express to anybody at age 6
um, dictate how I feel
dictate how I feel
in a family that I love now.
in a family that I love now.
And then breathe. So what are your babies, girls or boys?
I have a girl and a boy.
And who's the oldest? A
My
girl,
girl.
boy?
My girl.
Yeah. So I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that when I had my second child,
that when I had my second child,
all this grief
all this grief
and feeling like I'm not good enough
and feeling like I'm not good enough
and loss of control of knowing how to do things
and loss of control of knowing how to do things
had to come up
had to come up
because I was in a family that had 2 kids.
because I was in a family that had 2 kids.
Because I was the youngest in a family with 2 kids.
Because I was the youngest in a family with 2 kids.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I have to focus on house management and my job
that I have to focus on house management in my job
so that I won't feel
so that I won't feel
all that unfelt grief
all that unfelt grief
from when I was 6.
from when I was 6.
And yeah, and my mom was a hot mess.
And my mom was a hot mess.
And then breathe. And I needed her,
And I needed her.
but she was a hot mess.
But she was a hot mess.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing.
if I can just focus on doing my job
If I can just focus on doing my job
and making everything perfect in the house,
making everything perfect in the house,
then I'll never have to feel that grief
then I'll never have to feel that grief
of, of my mom not being available to help me when I was 6.
of my mom not being able to help me when I was 6.
And not even wanting
And not even wanting
to help me.
to help me.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing my mom didn't want to help me
I forgive myself for believing my mom didn't want to help me
and didn't want me to need help.
and didn't want me to need help.
When the truth is,
When the truth is,
she didn't know how to help me.
she didn't know how to help me.
She didn't even know how to help herself.
She didn't even know how to help herself.
And it wasn't my fault
And it wasn't my fault
that she didn't know how to be there for me.
that she didn't know how to be there for me.
And then breathe. I forgive my 6-year-old self
I forgive my 6-year-old self
for believing she would have to do everything herself
for believing that she would have to do everything herself
and for focusing on getting everything perfect
and for focusing on getting everything perfect
so that maybe
so that
it would
maybe
help mom change,
it would help mom change.
but it didn't.
But it didn't.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing by focusing on my job and all the things that have to get done in the house.
I forgive myself for believing, for focusing on my job and all the things I have to get done on my house.
Um, then I can, I want to say, I can save my mom.
I can save my mom.
I can make her a better mom. I
I
can
can
help her.
I can make her a better mom. I can help her.
Yeah. And then breathe. Oh. I forgive myself for holding on to the mom
I forgive myself for holding on to the mom
who gets better
who gets better,
and gets happy
gets happy
because I'm so perfect
because I'm so perfect
and I don't have any needs.
and I don't have any needs.
I let go of the mom who gets better on those terms,
I let go of the mom who gets better on those terms,
and that frees me.
and that frees me
Wow. To accept my mom the way she is,
to accept my mom the way she is,
with all her faults
with all her faults
and addictions
and addictions
and failure,
and failure,
even when I'm afraid.
even when I'm afraid.
I'll never get what I need.
I'll never get what I need.
Breathe. I forgive myself for believing that I needed a better mom.
I forgive myself for believing that I needed a better mom.
And then breathe. I give myself permission to accept.
I give myself permission to accept.
My mom, the way she is exactly what I needed.
To accept my mom the way she is
She
as what I
is exactly what I needed,
as exactly what I needed,
or God wouldn't have given her to me.
or God wouldn't have given her to me.
It was exactly who I needed in my life.
It was exactly who I needed in my life.
And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
my mom has to change and be happy and healed and whole
that my mom has to change and be happy and be healed and be whole
before I can
before I can
show up
show up
in my current family
in my current family
with all the gifts and love and joy
with all the gifts and love and joy
that God has given to me.
that God has given to me.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
my mom doesn't have to change and get better.
my mom doesn't have to change and get better.
And that, yeah, for me to
And
love
that
her,
and
for
that for
me to
me
love,
to love her
or to love and accept myself.
or to love and accept myself.
Yeah. And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
my mom doesn't have to get better
my mom doesn't have to get better
or be perfect.
or be perfect.
And that frees me
And that frees me
to stop trying to fix her
to stop trying to fix her
by either giving up what I have that she didn't have,
by giving up what I have that she didn't have,
or by focusing on being perfect in everything in my life
or by focusing and being perfect in everything in my life
so that she knows that she's worth it.
so that she knows she's worth it.
And then breathe. Yeah. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to accept.
I am free to accept.
It's never been my job to make my mom happy
It's never been my job to make my mom happy
or to make her life easier
or to make her life easier
or to make her show up the way I think I would like her to show up.
or to show up the way I think she would like I want her to show up.
Yeah, it's never been my job to do that.
It's never been my job to do that.
And I have a mom who loved me, who
And
loves me
I have a mom who loves me
as good as she can.
as good as she can.
And even if I'm perfect in everything,
And even if I'm perfect at everything,
or I'm suffering in my life
or I'm suffering in my life
like she did,
like she did,
she can't give me any more
she can't give me any more
because she's given me everything she could.
because she has given me everything she could.
And then breathe. Ah. I ask God to open my heart
I ask God to open my heart
so that I can receive
so that I can receive
all that my mom had to give me.
all that my mom had to give me.
And it's enough.
And it's enough.
And even if
And even
I'm if I'm perfect and have no needs,
if I'm perfect and have no needs,
and even if I'm suffering like she did,
and even if I'm suffering like she did,
she cannot give me any more.
she cannot give me any more.
She's given everything I was supposed to have.
She's given me everything I was supposed to have.
And it's enough.
And it's enough.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free
I am free
to love my family now the way they are
to love my family now the way they are
without feeling like I did when I was 6.
without feeling the way I did when I was 6.
And then breathe. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free to enjoy my children,
I am free to enjoy my children,
even when they're upset
even when they're upset.
and I can't change it,
And I can't change it.
just like my mom.
Just like my mom,
I can love them and appreciate how they feel.
I can love them and appreciate how they feel.
And I can love myself
And I can love myself
and feel overwhelming gratitude
and feel overwhelming gratitude
that they got a mom that's way different
that they got a mom that's way different
than the one I had to grow up with.
than the one I had to grow up with.
And and that my mom taught me how not to be
And that my mom taught me how not to be,
so that my children
so that my children
wouldn't grow up trying to make me happy
so that my children wouldn't grow up trying
or,
to make me happy
or trying to fix my life.
or trying to fix my life.
Yeah. And then breathe. Uh, how are you feeling?
A lot different.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
That was.
I want to say this, yeah, I feel like just freeing yourself, like some of your behaviors and actions and the role you step into isn't even about your family. It's about your birth family and you trying to make it better for your mom. Like I need to
Yeah,
get something from my mom, and to get something from my mom, I had to be perfect or I had to suffer with her and or just blank out because it's so painful. And instead of just going, you know what? Nah, that's a lot of work. I got 2 babies.
yeah.
I can't be doing that for her. So we'll throw in one more state or 1 or 2 more. Without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
I am free
I am free
to show up in my current family
to show up in my current family
and ask my husband for exactly what I need that would make it more enjoyable for me to mother my children.
to ask my husband for exactly what I need to make it more enjoyable for me to mother my children.
Yeah, and to breathe. And and he really tries to do it.
And he really tries to do it.
which is amazing because I've never had that experience.
Yeah, he does. He really tries.
Yeah, and then breathe. So without this pattern,
Without this pattern,
um, having people who I love in my family who actually uh, want to help me and do,
can
having
you
people in my, so without this pattern,
without this pattern,
having people in my life and my family
having people in my life and my family
who are who are interested in what would help me
who are interested in what would help me
and who will do it for me,
and who will do it for me
um, doesn't have to feel so unfamiliar.
doesn't have to feel so unfamiliar.
Yeah, I can make that feel more familiar to me.
I can make that feel more familiar to me,
Even though I'm really familiar with the other,
even though I'm really familiar with the other.
I don't have to create what didn't work in my birth family in my current family.
I don't have to create what didn't work in my birth family for what my current
Yeah,
family.
yeah. I ask God
I ask God
to open my heart
to open my heart
so that I can become very familiar with a new family pattern
so that I can become very familiar with a new family pattern
where I consider what help I actually need
where I consider what help I actually need
and uh, I use all my adult ability to make that happen.
and I use all my adult ability to make that happen.
And it starts with asking the other adult in the family to help
And it starts with asking the other adult in the family to help
and explaining that it's because I want to be a really good mom and having like offloading this job is going to make me happier every day. So it's by explaining
by explaining
that I really need you to do this to help so that I can be a better mom.
that I really need you to do this to help so that I can be a better mom.
Yeah, so that my kids don't grow up thinking they have to fix me and make me happy.
So that our kids don't have to grow up and fix me and make me happy.
Right. And then breathe. Oh, that feels so good. Ah, yes. Very good. All right. So now I'm going to just check on the scale of 1 to that the subjective units of distress. Oh, you are feeling way better.
I
It
am
went
feeling way better.
it's from a 10 to a 0. I would think you feel like you lost weight.
Yes.
Lighter, very light. And then yeah, and then let me see. That's the one. Oh, stage of healing. Yes, you're in light emerging. Waha. Which means that the unknown good starts to happen. That means that kid starts to sleep through the night, and stuff. Where you go, I didn't even like, and the other one like goes, I'm potty trained automatically, mom.
Yeah.
Like things that have been hard automatically just seem to get easier. That's light emerging. It's like, but there can be days that you think you're like a basket case and you're going backward, but they'll only be very brief. And, I would say in those days, what you want to say to yourself is, just like literally talk to yourself, say, Chelsea, there's nothing you're going to do that's going to fix your mom or make her happy. Nothing.
Okay.
And it's not your job. And you need to accept her how she is so that you can take that job off of you. There's nothing. And there's nothing more you need from her because she's giving everything she's capable of giving. And even
Yes.
if you were perfect, even if you suffer like she does, she's not going to give you any more. You got it all. That's it.
Okay. Yeah.
it like lets your mind and your body like come out of that tense place of always having that other agenda going on. So that's why I say if you have those days that are really hard, because they'll be brief, they won't go on and on and on. You just want to remind yourself that, Chelsea, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to make your mom happy or change her life or fix her. That's not your job. And you take all that power back from your mind trying to do that. And then you may see, here's what happens because your mind is trying to play that in the background.
Yeah.
Your life as a mom gets really hard because that's the only way you can fix your mom now is for you to be a wreck and then you fix you, right?
Right.
Where if you realize if I let go of fixing mom, then me as the mom doesn't need to be fixed anymore either.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works. So yeah, that's what I would tell you. Anyway, yeah, stage of healing is 6, and that's amazing. And I always recommend to people, anybody who goes to an EPT practitioner, this, your life is an ongoing transformation. If you're not living with ongoing transformation, you really will like not enjoy life. So EPT is a great therapy that allows you when you hit those rough spots to say, well, let me see what it really is so I don't stay here for too long because I'm really excited about where I'm headed and how God is growing me so
Yeah.
that I can be a better mom. I mean, you know, all my kids I have kids in their 20s and their 30s. And you know what? I still work on being a better mom. I haven't mastered that. I've never even thought I've mastered it. So, but I know that without God, I can't do it. So it's always a humbling thing to realize it's with God that I can be a better mom. And all my stupid mistakes, it's because of God that I don't have to ruin everybody's life or
Right.
whatever, however that might be.
Yeah.
I also don't have to be the one who saves them all
Right.
because I can't do that either. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn off the recording. It has been wonderful. And you're fine with it being on the internet, right?
Yes, that's fine.
Oh, yay. Thank you. We have
Yeah.